everybody. My name is Sunny Lee. I work for a company called Mozilla. You might be familiar with Mozilla because we developed the Firefox browser. That's probably our best known product, but in fact, we do a lot of other cool stuff too, Open Badges being one of them. So at Mozilla, we believe that learning happens throughout the course of a lifetime. We live till we're 80 years old nowadays, maybe even more. And there's also a lot of informal learning that happens. But a lot of this learning isn't being counted. Learning doesn't stop when you graduate from high school or college, but a lot of this kind of informal, lifelong experiential learning isn't being counted. Also, the ways in which these skills that you acquire in informal ways, the way they're communicated is really limited and rather ineffective. So we got to thinking about badges. This is a badges crowd, so I don't want to insult anybody, but we'll just kind of go through badges very, very briefly. Badges basically, they can be called achievements, they can be called tokens, stars, whatever. Badges basically are visual representations of skills, competencies, not just that, but participation, motivation, interests, association, affiliations, etc. Scouting badges are easy examples to point to in the analog world, but more recently, and you guys are all familiar with Foursquare badges. I mean, this is a badges conference. There's Red Critter badges out there. There's Badgeville, Bunchball that are platforms that issue badges. There are a ton of badges out there. Stack Overflow badges, not to mention CoderWall badges, Khan Academy badges. I can just go on and on. But what we've kind of realized at Mozilla is that these badge systems are popping up all over the place. But from the perspective of the badge earner, the person who's possibly earning badges from Foursquare, from CoderWall, from Stack Overflow, etc., those badges are siloed off in those respective environments. If I want to have the badges that I earned in all these different places attached to my identity so that I can exert some level of control or management over these badges and potentially share them with the rest of the world in a very mediated way, there's really no way to do that. So this kind of experience, Mozilla thought maybe we can power that. We got to thinking, what if we built an infrastructure, a shared and open infrastructure to power that experience? So we built the Mozilla Open Badge infrastructure. Basically, the way it works is, first of all, we kind of took a look at the nascent emerging badges ecosystem, and we identified 3 key players in this environment. First, there are the issuers, the folks like the Bunchballs, the Badgevilles, the CoderWalls, the Code Academies, folks that have a community of users to which they issue badges. Then there are badge earners, folks that go through a certain set of tasks or learning content to actually earn the badges. Then displayers, places in which earners would want to have their badges be meaningfully displayed. So with that in mind, the Open Badge infrastructure is comprised of several pieces. For the issuer, we defined a badge metadata specification. Basically, we define what a badge is. A badge is basically a ping image, and with that, associated metadata. The metadata pieces are things like who issued this badge, who was it issued to, what was the criteria that went into earning this badge, is there an expiration date on this badge, if so, when is it, etc. So we have a set of required and optional metadata fields that we defined in the form of a badge's metadata spec. And in addition to that, we have an issuer API. The issuer API basically enables various issuers to plug into and make their badges that were siloed off in their own environments in which the badges were originated available and available into the larger badges ecosystem. Now for the earner, we have this concept called a backpack. The backpack is kind of like your Scout sash. It's your repository of all the badges that you've earned all over the place. So it's conceivable that once the badges ecosystem really takes off, that one earner could have a really wide range of badges, from hiking badges to coding badges to baking badges. So this is the place in which you would want to meaningfully organize your badges, set the privacy control of your badges, and also figure out how you want to display them out to the world. For instance, my coding badges I might want to have displayed on my professional networks, but my hiking or my baking badges, I might want to have those be sent to my personal social networks. So that's where you get to exert all that kind of management control, the backpack. And finally, for the displayer, We have the displayer API that essentially enables a displayer to pull badges from a badge earner's backpack onto their display site with the badge earner's consent. So these pieces basically comprise the Open Badge infrastructure. Now, if you haven't checked out our website already, I highly recommend you do so. We have like a really interactive get started call to action button there. I could have probably done this live, but I have silly screenshots instead. But basically, it walks you through the whole story arc that we talked about just right now. So you'll go through some kind of very basic learning content about badges, take a very basic quiz, and then earn your first Badges 101 badge. After you do that, you have the option to push it to your backpack, that badge that you earned. You go through some authentication steps. You see your badge here. You can decide to accept it or decline it. If I accept it, then now I can push it into, I can see it in my backpack. I'm going to go to my backpack. This is basically the very work in progress interface of the backpack. I can go ahead and group my badges, create a name. I can click on it and see all the metadata associated with it. So basically at Mozilla, we built the plumbing to support all these different badge systems out there. But we got to thinking it'd be really cool to really kind of help kickstart this badges ecosystem if we seeded it with really high quality badges. So about a year ago, we administered a competition called the DML competition. So we made an open call for badge system submissions, and we got over 600 entries, and those got whittled down to 90 finalists who came to San Francisco earlier this year in March. And those 90 finalists got to present to a panel of judges, and they further got whittled down to 30 funded grantees who are now funded by MacArthur to build out their badge system for the rest of the year, in the next year. And those badge systems, as part of the requirement of the grant, will plug into the Mozilla Open Badge infrastructure. So that some of the folks that, some of the 30 grantee folks include pretty high profile folks like Disney, Pixar, NASA, Motorola, Girl Scouts, etc. So we're pretty excited. So what's next for us? So this Open Badge infrastructure that we just reviewed, we've been in public beta for the past couple months at the end of Q1. We're continuing to improve upon it. Next up for us is a tool called Open Badger. This basically is a lightweight badge issuing tool that enables small shops that want to stand up their own badge systems to do it with facility. So that's what we're working on next. We're going to improve upon our displayer API in Q3. Endorsement API, I'll touch upon very briefly. The concept of endorsement basically is, say if I were MIT and I want to issue badges for this Biology 101 course, but I don't necessarily want to create those badge systems on my own. So I take a look at the larger Open Badges ecosystem and see a badge system from this college for a Biology 101 course. I take a look at that badge system, and it meets the criteria and the rigor of my school standards. So I can go ahead and sign that existing badge system with my MIT name, essentially adding a layer of cachet to it, and not having to redo what's already existing in the larger ecosystem. So that's the concept of endorsement. And we hope to be productized by the end of the year. So with that, I hope my presentation is the shortest that you'll have to listen to. I'll take questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, Sunny.
Questions?
Yeah, questions.
Okay.
So you definitely deserve a badge for being the most concise. As somebody once said to me, he who is concise is invited back when it comes to speaking at conferences. So be happy to take any questions right now. You can come to the front.
Sorry. Go ahead. A question, very interesting concept around open badges. Question I have happens to do with just within a enterprise. Within our enterprise, we have a lot of different organizations or parts of our organization looking at different types of badges. And right now, it's not really a cohesive network. I'm afraid that someone might use our CIO group to develop a custom badging system. Someone might use Badgeville. Someone else might do something else.
Yeah.
Are you looking at least, perhaps, instead of necessarily opening it up to all of the world, to have a solution that's just addressed toward enterprises that have these disparate systems that are trying to consolidate badges?
So the Mozilla Open Badge infrastructure is admittedly inflected a little bit more towards education and learning, but we think that the Foursquare badges, the Red Critter badges, all those enterprise badges are important components to the larger badges ecosystem. We're invested in the success of the larger badges ecosystem. So if there's any way to integrate with larger enterprise solutions, because there's so many, like Badgeville, Bunchball, these folks are very prominently here. We are in conversations with them if we can help. When we built this, we really kind of put the focus on the earner, the person who's collecting all these badges, and their badges are not limited to learning environments or educational environments. There's also enterprise badges. There's also all these different opportunities to earn badges. So if we can capture all those experiences, then we'd love to.
Great, thank you.
It's like really hot here. That light is just oh, hi.
Hi, I'm excited to hear that you had that project to seed the badge pool to start off with. But I'm a little curious. Mozilla's a profitable company. Pixar and some of the other partners who succeeded in the competition are profitable companies. How did you motivate MacArthur to fund that effort?
How do we motivate?
The MacArthur Foundation?
Oh, so the Mozilla Open Badge Initiative is funded by MacArthur, so we are closely tied to them. This was a strategy that we came up with MacArthur. In addition to building this open infrastructure, it would be really helpful to jumpstart this with high-quality badges. So that's a plan that we came up with MacArthur. And also, I think it's worth pointing out that a lot of people do ask us, what's your motivation? What's the business model behind this? We actually have the luxury to be truly altruistic with this. We are doing this to kind of create an open solution. At the end of the day, what's success for us is through badges, through this alternative credentialing model. If we can help somebody get a job, that's success for us. So that's what we're striving for. Hi there.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing that you're looking to really focus on the status in a more generalistic way and integrate all those together.
Yep.
So as a status symbol, have you thought about, or how are you going to play when it comes to multiple subjects coming together? Like, say you earned some sort of credits on Coursera and you took a class in iTunes U, and they both are on neuroscience. And then you've also read all these articles and you've gotten badges in these different systems. How do they turn into a sort of what many companies call missions, or a sort of aggregate to show subject matter expertise?
So that's a really great question. That's something that we thought about too. So I can take one Code Academy course, one Treehouse course, and how do I connect those and create a pathway that others can emulate? That's something that we think will be possible already as the Open Badge infrastructure exists. We are thinking about different ways in which we can highlight pathways of learning, different ways in which badges were collected to achieve certain types of skills and competencies. That's certainly something that was in our thoughts when we were building this.
Very cool.
Yep.
And do you already have code in place to connect into Treehouse and Coursera and other spots like that?
We are in conversations with those folks. The folks that are currently plugging into the Open Badge infrastructure include Peer-to-Peer University, Open Michigan. There's an organization called BadgeStack. They're similar to Bunchball and Badgeville, but supporting more of the educational learning organizations. So they have a platform that enables teachers and educators to issue badges. They're plugging into our system. Some of their clients include folks like Smithsonian, University of Wisconsin Stout.
A lot.
Yeah, many others. But we do have a lot of folks. I think the last time we checked, 98 independent issuers plugging into the Open Badge infrastructure. Yeah, so we're excited.
Thank you.
Well, so if there are no further questions, then thanks again, Sunny. And
Cool.